Harvard。是都说的法的吗？
对啊，那个哈法那个。
是不是法的吗？
哈法那个。
不是哈法的吗？
法海。
Have to work as a group, guys.
No. It's just covered by your sheet, shirt.
Okay.
Here.
Will be fine.
我们干嘛？
好吧。
Oh yeah.
先
I might actually be using might be using the camera for this lesson as well because it's been sent with me. Like the other lesson, you remember a couple of weeks ago, there was a need for the lesson to be recorded. As I said, you have nothing to do with that. It's all about the teaching side rather than the learning side. So I'll possibly be having the camera this side and that corner.
Oh, 我们要干嘛？
Are we all here now?
No.
Why use record?
Sorry?
Why use video record?
Why?
Yeah.
Because why video recording? It's the same reason. Because there is research going on in the university, and they need some data, some lessons to be recorded. And I volunteered. And I told them I'm fine to do that. You can record my lessons. So this is why. Yeah.
Because you are handsome.
Are you asking so you could dress well in a suit, Michael, before you come here, so you be professional on the camera?
要这种手机啊？要这种手机，大哥。没你的，我感觉没你的。不一样宽。还不一样长呢。不一样长，一样宽，但是也是有点大。
Michael, yeah.
Good work.
So he is very.
Oh, long chat.
Columbia.
Okay,
Software company.
guys. First of all, how is the preparation going for discussion skills? Use language rather than heavy breathing. That's obviously not very clear.
It's not easy to find it.
Not easy to find resources.
Yeah, because the internet is provided by the government, so we can't find it. Yeah.
Because there's surveillance on
Yeah.
finding materials, on surveillance
Yeah.
of the government. That's a bit complicated, Michael. You can talk about that in your discussion, and we will see who would agree with you actually, and who would disagree. And I can quite well anticipate the result. But anyways, what we'll do today is presentation, okay, and specifically dealing with questions for the main part. And we've got, if we have got some time left at the end, and I expect that to happen, we should cover some techniques to improve the quality of the presentation. So what is the first part? Dealing with, oh come on. The lesson is all about presentation. So it's divided into two parts. The first one is about dealing with questions. And the second part is about okay. Alright, what we will do basically is we will watch a presentation given by somebody specializing in a topic that might be familiar for some of you and might not be very familiar to the others. To give you an idea about what we will be watching, I will let you watch first a video before the presentation, okay? We will watch a video before we watch the presentation. The video unfortunately is not very academic, so you will see a lot of non-academic stuff, and please don't use that as a reply back to me when I ask you why you've done this in your presentation, and you said you have shown that in the presentation. And I'm giving, you know the word disclaimer? Disclaimer means something that would prove me innocent if anybody, tries to use what I've said here. For example, let me give you an example to make it clearer. So for example, if I start with a disclaimer, that the content of this lesson does not represent my opinion, I'm just taking the opinion of the people I'm, teaching. It's not my opinion. I'm giving that disclaimer. That means, legally speaking, I'm not responsible for anything that is happening, because I've given you what? Disclaimer. I've told you that I'm not responsible for that. I've made that clear from the very beginning. And now I'm making a disclaimer. I'm saying the content, the non-academic content that you will see now in the video, don't use anything similar in your presentation, obviously. Okay, but just to give you an idea before we actually start watching the video, I'm going to ask you a general question about your cultures, where you come from. Okay? I know for sure that some cultures believe in some mythical, mythical creatures?
No.
Jason, what is mythical?
It's a country?
Oh, no, guys, I'm asking you.
Magical.
Yes, kind of magical. Yeah. Something that is possibly, normally it's a legend, it's not reality. Yeah. So mythical creatures meaning creatures that do not actually exist. Yeah. But some people would still insist that they exist. Yeah, they're somewhere in the mountains or wherever. Yeah. Any creatures that in your cultures you believe exist? Dragon.
Dragon.
People actually believe that dragons exist. They are somewhere, hiding somewhere. Alright. I can see very quickly that not everyone agrees that they actually exist. Dragons, what else?
Monster.
Monsters.
God.
God.
I'm talking about creatures, guys.
Creation.
Dragon is not a creature.
Sorry?
Dragon is not a creature.
Jesus.
Jesus.
Okay, we're getting on the point now. We're getting on the point. But anyway, in some cultures, you would find that they believe in the existence of some creatures that other people, of course, disagree with. Okay? Now, in Britain, and more specifically in Scotland, they believe in the existence of a creature which no one actually knows if it exists or not. Because there is evidence to say that it exists, and there is evidence to say that it doesn't exist. Okay? Anyone familiar with that? Unicorn, you mean? No, that unicorn, everyone agrees that they don't. Everyone agrees that they don't exist.
Yeah.
Unicorn is definitely a mythical creature.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. But anyone familiar with some cultural background here? No?
Maybe the Wolfman.
The Wolfman.
No.
You watch a lot of movies. Yes, some people do believe that. Shall I go into the horror movies or you go? But anyway, some people believe that there are wolfmen, meaning there are some people who are actually wolves, but they are appearing to humans. And no, wolfmen are different, which is zombies. But anyway, and they say, correct me if I'm wrong because I'm not very good at horror movies. But they say that when the moon is round, this is when they change back to their nature, and they will disappear. You will look for somebody when the moon is full, and you will not find them. And they say this is because when they join the wolves somewhere, yeah, and then they will come back. But anyway, the idea behind all of this is the belief in some either mythical or mystical. Mystical?
The same meaning.
No, well, definitely not the same meaning. Close.
Not same.
This is when accurate pronunciation is very important. If you give me mythical as mystical, this is when you mess the entire thing. Yeah, you mess the entire thing up. Mystical means unnatural, something that we cannot relate to. Something out of our world in a sense. Yeah. Not out of control, guys. Out of our world. Something.
Miracle.
I'm not going to use more vocabulary, but they call it outlandish.
Yeah, I know.
Now you know outlandish. And I expected that would be the difficult word, but people outlandish. Anyway, guys, we're taking too long with this.
Alien.
Not creatures.
Alien.
We're done with examples now. Okay. For example, aliens. Yes, for example, aliens. And you would find people who would, defend that with their lives, that actually aliens exist. But anyway, that's not our topic for today. And we have cards. Let's come back. UK and in Scotland in particular, people believe that there is, believe it or not, there is a monster hiding in a lake.
Lake.
Where do you know this from?
Because we
Oh,
have
yeah.
in China. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very famous.
Okay.
Our program on the television named Discover always like to show that.
Okay. Basically, let me explain to those who don't know what is happening. People, especially in Scotland, they believe that there's a monster. Guys, I'm speaking seriously now. I'm not making any joke. That there's a monster hiding in a lake in Scotland, and the lake is called Loch Ness. And in Scottish language, Loch or Loch, depending on the accent, means lake. Yeah. So some people that believe that there is the Loch Ness monster. Yeah. There is a monster hiding in that lake. But as we have taken so long already with getting to that, I'll skip the video part and I will jump into the presentation straight. So somebody will be giving a presentation on the topic of Loch Ness Monster. Okay?
Maybe Heidel is the horseman. It's okay.
What?
Heidel. Horseman.
You're still giving me examples. Michael, that's done. That's over. Yeah. That's over.
Should you take
Yeah, I'm telling you what you need to do, guys. What you need to do while listening is two things. Actually, three. First of all, to be silent, because I believe this is important information now. The second one is to please take notes. The third one is to really imagine that you are attending that lecture and come up with questions that you really want to ask the person. Okay? What are we doing? We're taking notes. Come up with questions, real questions, out of what the person is talking about, and we will, of course, discuss these questions when the presentation is finished. It's a 12-minute presentation, so get yourself ready for an entire presentation. Yeah? Ready to start?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. It's really wonderful to see so many people here. My name is...
I just remembered, it might be a good idea actually to start with vocabulary first, because you will hear some new vocabulary.
Yeah.
It might be better to do before actually rather than after. Because the idea here is not to test your listening, it's to make you actually understand what is said rather than challenge you. We'll do just a few words, make sure we know the meaning before we start listening to the presentation. Can I get Matthew to read for us, please? 1.1. We're doing 1.1, guys.
Referring to your presentation about the Loch Ness Monster, a legendary creature that some people believe exists in Scotland. First, match the words on the left with the definitions on the right. An example has been done for you.
Okay? So go ahead please and match the words with their meaning.
Yeah, statistician. Someone.
Statistician. But that's done already.
Statistician. Yeah, but it's not T-I-O-N.
Statistician.
Statistician, someone who studies data and statistics.
Yes, and this is done already, so we need to do the others in the same way, okay?
Yeah, but okay.
Yeah, but okay.
Yeah, but all the vocabularies I didn't know.
This is why you have the meanings on the other side.
Yeah, I take a dictionary.
Just try to test yourself.
Yeah. Okay, one more minute, guys. All right. Let's see. Again, so we can take some time. We'll start with sharing our answers together. What is paranormal, guys?
Supervision, natural, something cannot be explained by science.
Yes. By the way, it's the supernatural, not natural. So for those just who made a mistake, to be aware. It's supernatural. Okay. Something that cannot be explained by science. Yes. You can guess how the next word is pronounced?
Spatial.
Very close, but not really. It's pronounced in a bit of a strange way, this word. It's pronounced as okay. Anyways, you will hear the person talking about this. And that is what's the meaning?
The study of animals. Don't think it's
According to science. Okay. We have statistician made for us already. How?
a large round shape that rises above the surface.
Yes. Do we all agree? A large round shape that rises above the surface. Some examples somewhere. Authenticity. Yes, absolutely.
Which one?
Genuine. What is genuine, guys?
Real.
Okay. And hooks.
Fish.
Look.
People believe.
An attempt to make people believe something that is not true.
Something
Hoax is more like trick.
of the animal.
Yeah. Not exactly a trick. It's worse than a trick, hoax. Okay. But it has the same similar meaning. Hoax. An attempt to make people believe something that is not true. Submerge.
Go beneath
Go beneath the surface. Okay. Computer enhancement. Photographs and films. This one should be very easy.
Long thin fish.
A long thin fish that will track us in.
Yes. Predator. Okay. So we know the meanings of these words, guys. Definitely you will be hearing them in the presentation. Okay, now back to the presentation. And get your paper in front of you to take notes and prepare questions, please. Ready? Okay.
Good morning, everyone. It's really wonderful to see so many people here. My name is Paul Harris, and I have the truly great honor of opening this most unconventional of conventions. I'm absolutely delighted to be here with you today. Over the next 2 days, you're going to hear presentations and panel discussions on a broad range of topics related to the world of the paranormal and cryptozoology, ranging from UFOs in America to the Yeti in Tibet. But in this opening paper, I'd like to focus your attention on a long-standing mystery much closer to home. As I think some of you know already, I'm going to talk about the Loch Ness Monster. Now, I've divided my presentation into 3 main parts. In the first part, I'll say a little about the geography of Loch Ness and give you some background to the mystery. Then, in part 2, I'll talk about some of the classic monster sightings. And finally, in part 3,
Classic monster sightings. What does that mean? Sighting meaning when you see something, an incident when you see something. So in the second part, you will tell some incidents where people saw someone sighting. So he said he will talk about classical sightings, meaning incidents where people have seen the monster. Yeah, that's in the second part. We'll talk about that.
and finally, in part 2, into the geography of Loch Ness and give you some background to the mystery. Then, in part 2, I'll talk about some of the classic monster sightings. And finally, in part 3, I'm going to try to answer the question, if there is such a thing as the Loch Ness Monster, what on earth could it be? So to begin with, let's start by looking at the physical geography of the loch.
Do you feel comfortable following the guidelines?
Yes.
Why? What is the secret?
Following.
The signposting language. Made you feel very comfortable knowing what he's going to talk about very clearly. Something to keep in mind, guys, and some of you have received feedback on signposting language, especially when you start. Because if you win the audience at the beginning, they might forgive you for some things later. But if you lose them at the beginning, this is when they will never forgive you till the end of your presentation. Okay?
As most of you probably know, Loch Ness is situated in the Highlands of Scotland, roughly about 600 miles from where we are today. It's a very big loch, about 24 miles long and between 1 and 1.5 miles wide, and it represents the largest volume of fresh water in the British Isles. Now, Loch Ness certainly isn't the deepest lake in Britain. That award actually goes to Loch Moura over on the west coast. But with an average depth of over 200 metres for most of its length, Loch Ness is still pretty deep. And in fact, some statisticians have calculated that every man, woman and child on the planet could be submerged in Loch Ness, and there's still be room for mystery. Now hopefully that gives you some idea of where the loch is situated and its physical characteristics.
What is happening here, guys? History and background, which is, now I'm balancing two things at the same time. I'm trying to balance what I gave feedback on earlier in your presentations. What makes you listen very comfortably to the guide, to the presenter, the signposting language, the very easy to follow background and history. So even if you have no knowledge of the topic, you can still follow, the line of thought and feel comfortable following what he's trying to say.
As I said at the beginning though, I'd also like to talk about the background to the mystery. Although there have been reports of a strange animal in Loch Ness right back to the 6th century, there's been
When did sightings start?
6th century.
Okay.
record of St. Columba encountering a water monster near Loch Ness in 565 AD. The Loch Ness Monster, as we currently know it, first came to the general public's attention back in 1933. A local couple called Mr. and Mrs. Mackay were travelling in a car by the side of the loch when they saw a big disturbance in the water. Mr. Mackay was driving, so he had to get...
What did they see in the water?
Big disturbance.
A big disturbance. You know when, for example, a crocodile or something is trying to get from underneath the water to, or like a dolphin, or you can see that the water is moving, getting disturbed, basically. This is what is called water disturbance. So the water is moving, obviously, because there is something underneath it which is causing that disturbance on the surface. Like that disturbance, for example.
Mr. Mackay was driving, so he had to pay attention to the road. But his wife said, when they saw a big disturbance of the loch, when they saw a big disturbance in the water, Mr. Mackay was driving, so he had to pay attention to the road. But his wife later said that in the middle of the water disturbance, she saw a big black hump. She realized she was watching a living creature when this hump shot off to the other side of the loch, turned in half a circle, and then suddenly sank. She and her husband waited to see if the animal would come up again, but it had gone. The Mackay sighting was reported to a local newspaper, the Inverness Courier, and as the saying goes, the rest is history. After the Mackays, other people also began reporting what they'd seen in the loch, and this has continued over the years right up until the present day. Which brings us, I think, to the second part of my presentation today.
Have you seen the signposting language? Listen carefully, guys.
Okay. Which brings us, I think, to the second part of my presentation today, some of the classic monster sightings.
Very easy to follow, very organized structure, and very good signposting language, of course.
I would have to say that this photo is the image that most people think of when they hear the words Loch Ness Monster. It was taken in 1934 by a London surgeon and has therefore come to be known as the surgeon's photograph. As you can see, it seems to show the head and neck of a strange animal sticking out of the water, and going by the ripples on the water surface, it appears that this was quite a large creature. Now, as I was just saying, this image is undoubtedly the most famous one around the world, but I'm afraid that in recent years there's been some doubt about its authenticity. For example, in 1994, new evidence was uncovered which suggests that this photograph was in fact a complete hoax. Of course, we'll never probably know for sure, but now that there's been some negative evidence about this photo, it's unlikely that anyone will accept it as proof of a living creature ever again. Another classic sighting that I'd like to share with you occurred in 1960. Tim Dinsdale, an aeronautical engineer, had gone to Loch Ness with the direct intention of trying to film the monster. And on the final day of his week-long expedition, he managed to see a large black hump. Dinsdale looked at this hump through binoculars and realized that he was watching a huge living creature. And at this point, he started filming it. The animal that Dinsdale filmed crossed the loch and started to submerge when it was quite near to the other side. After the film had been analysed by experts from the RAF, the conclusion was that Dinsdale had indeed filmed, as they put it, an animate object, but it was impossible to say exactly what the object was. Over the years, people have criticised Dinsdale's film, saying that he must have filmed a boat, but of course, these critics are conveniently forgetting that Dinsdale first examined the object through binoculars. If it had been a boat, then presumably he would have easily have recognised it as such. In the
What happened here? What was the criticism for the film that was recorded? Yes, they said, the critics said that it was a boat. The thing that, because remember it was 1930 something, of course cameras at that time were so bad, yeah? And they said that thing that was moving in the water might have been just a boat, yeah? But he said they forgot that the man checked that object through what? Oh guys, you're missing the notes. Okay, I'll play that part again.
That Dinsdale first examined the object through binoculars. If it had been a boat, then presumably he would have still at least filmed an eye. Over the years, people have criticised Dinsdale's film, saying that he must have filmed a boat. But of course, these critics are conveniently forgetting that Dinsdale first examined the object through binoculars.
Film.
Okay.
What is that?
No kids, no color.
No cut? No.
No, it's nothing. No.
I see where you're coming from, maybe not now.
Okay.
Okay.
Binocular is the things that would, you use to look at, far objects. And close that. Binocular. So the man said the boat theory is obviously a weak one because they forgot that before he started filming, because the cameras were bad, but the binoculars would have been good at that time. Yeah. he could have seen that it was not a boat. Okay?
If it had been a boat, then presumably he would have easily have recognized it as such. In the 1990s, the Dimmesdale film was sent to America for further analysis and computer enhancement, and they discovered some exciting features that hadn't been seen before. By computer enhancing the image of the hump, they found that there is actually a smaller hump right behind it. The debate around Dimmesdale film still continues to this day, but as I think you'll agree, the evidence does strongly suggest that he did it. In fact, film exactly what he said he did, an unknown animal swimming in Loch Ness. Time is marching on, so now I'd like to move on to the final part of my presentation today and consider the question, if there is a Loch Ness monster, what might it be? As you probably know, a number of monster theories have been proposed over the years, although none of them are entirely satisfactory. One of the first theories put forward in the very early days of the mystery was that the monster might be a shark. Unfortunately, this theory failed to take into consideration the fact that Loch Ness is a freshwater lake, and of course sharks live in salt water.
What is the first theory?
Could be a shark, but
No.
it's impossible.
Why it's impossible?
Because the lake is fresh.
Fresh,
so
yeah,
It's fresh water, and sharks don't live in fresh water. They only live in salts.
Needless to say, the shark hypothesis didn't last for long. Another early theory was that the monster might be an overgrown eel. The eel theory actually has quite a lot in its favour, but of course it doesn't explain everything. For example, witnesses typically report that the monster has a long neck like a giraffe, and none of the eels currently known to science are able to rise out of the water vertically and make a neck like that. So unless we're dealing with a completely new species of eel, I'm afraid that this theory simply doesn't account for all the facts.
What's the problem with the second theory?
it's eel, but
Eel.
Having
but the
a
first
neck.
picture was built along
Neck like a giraffe.
Mm.
And he said, from all the eels that we know are known to science today, none that can actually stand vertically and give us that shape that we saw.
One of the most popular theories of the years.
Can you see the critical thinking, guys?
Yeah.
He's presenting the argument and the counter-argument, the argument and the counter-argument, which is the essence of critical thinking.
Has been that the monster is a type of marine dinosaur known as a plesiosaur. The skeletons that we have of plesiosaurs certainly look very similar to how the Loch Ness monster is usually described. But of course there are some major problems with this theory, not least the fact that dinosaurs, such as the plesiosaur, supposedly died out 70 million years ago. All things considered, I'd have to say that the plesiosaur theory is probably the least likely. But I think I've said enough about what the monster isn't. At the start of this presentation, I promised that I would try to identify this creature or creatures. So let's now think about what the Loch Ness monster is. If we go back to the very beginning of the mystery and look at some of the early reports from Loch Ness, we can see that the local people were talking about the monster simply being a large fish. And as unexciting as that might seem, this, in my opinion, is still the most likely candidate for a monster. One such fish, the Atlantic sturgeon, can grow very large indeed. Specimens have been caught over 3 meters long. And because sturgeon are quite rare, most people would be unlikely to recognize them even if they saw one. A sturgeon living in the loch wouldn't need to feed another fish. As you may know, one of the problems that scientists have always had with the concept of a monster is that there aren't really enough fish in Loch Ness to support any resident predators. And like a salmon, a sturgeon could simply come and go from the loch via one of the rivers. This would certainly help to account for the scarcity of sightings. Now, I accept that the sturgeon theory can't account for every single sighting, but I personally think that back in the 1930s, a particularly large sturgeon was probably responsible for setting the whole thing off. As you may know, the waters of Loch Ness can be very deceptive. There are boat wakes, partially submerged rocks, floating tree trunks, and swimming deer. All sorts of confusing things. So once the idea of a monster was born, whenever people saw something that they couldn't easily explain in Loch Ness, they automatically thought of the monster. And of course this has continued right up to the present day. In fact, I would say that it's now impossible for anyone to visit Loch Ness without associating it with the monster, in which case unexplained sightings, which I personally believe are simply cases of mistaken identity, are quite likely to continue. So, that brings us to the end of my paper today. If anyone has any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Okay. I believe it's a very good example of a very good presentation, first of all, just as a side note. But now coming to the questions, which is the part that we want to focus on. Can you please get together in your small groups and bring together your questions, the things that you like to ask the person about. And then we will watch some questions that people actually asked here.
Any questions? Huh? Any questions? Any questions? The tutor side, it has 3 parts, but I want to know which 3 parts. First, I forgot, and maybe the third is answer the problem, answer the phenomenon that the likeness, the monster. Maybe the photo could be the other people make it, not the true monster. Maybe it's the third part.
Your question is now about what's the third part of the presentation?
The presentation.
What's your question is now to know what the third part of the presentation? Is your question?
Yeah, the tutor side, it has a third part.
3 parts.
The 3 part, but what's the 3 part? Which 3 parts?
What's the 3 parts of the presentation?
What's the context of the 3 parts? I think it's not so question. Yeah, but we should get to know that what's the context of
Write
this
them down,
side.
please. Every question that you come up with, write them down.
Maybe it's let's remember that.
Yeah, but he said the first part will talk about the background of the mystery.
A further part is about what?
Geography of the lake.
Geography, it means the background and the history. Yeah, I know, I get that. The geography, the link, the Nile link is 100 miles long and 1.5 miles broad, and it has 200 meter deep. Another question. We should come on.
Yeah, I think you should have questions about the presentation.
Yeah.
There is any questions that you want to find answer to the presentation? Because you already talk about the 3 parts.
Yeah, but actually, that maybe we're lost. You know. Do you have any questions? Some context we're lost. It's difficult to ask questions.
So I want to renew that. I
Yeah,
want
but
to rebuild
but I don't
all
think
the
that's the
structure.
purpose here of the question. Because that present usually we talk about the three parts of the presentation.
Yeah.
What?
And I know in 1933, the first people found the Loch Ness monster, but they didn't take a photo, they just to see. And suddenly, many passengers want to visit the lake, want to see the Loch Ness monster.
Yeah.
And many people, firstly, many people didn't use the photograph. Some of them say that they look it. But actually, the lake is very huge. They couldn't look carefully, and finally they used the binoculars to make them see clear.
Is that it stimulates the economy because of the monster? Many people want to tour there. I think maybe it's some impact. Yeah, maybe some impact on the economy.
Yes.
That's a kind of question.
And then we get the photo of the Loch Ness monster, and the scientists want to get the truth. They get some thinking about that. They make some reason about that. Why? Maybe I forgot it.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
And let's see, what questions have we got? Let's start on the group over here.
Where is the first photo taken by me?
When was the first photo of taken? Okay. Thank you.
Technology very improved since 1990. Did somebody search with new techniques such as satellite systems with more qualified pictures?
Okay. Technology developed. Is there any evidence today about the existence? I'm trying to paraphrase so it's shorter. Of the monster. Okay. Thank you.
And to what extent that kind of issue stimulates the local economics about traveling?
Can that be just fabrication? I'm trying to paraphrase what he said.
Yeah.
A fabrication to bring more tourists in. Can it just be a made-up story just to bring more tourism into the area?
anyone seeing that recently? Because things that happened is already about 20 years.
Yeah. The last sighting you talked about was about 20 years ago. Is there any more recent ones? Meaning new sightings, people seeing. Okay? Thank you.
The first photo is why they took it as an evidence for the theory about animals, because they said it cannot be ill because it has a long name. But the people said it's
Did you get the question, guys?
No.
It seems that just the two ends of the classroom got the question. Can you try to say it again, please, so everyone tries to listen carefully?
If the people said the first photo is hawk, why they took it as an evidence to prove that it's not ill?
Did you get the question? You remember the photo, the very old photo, the classic photo, yeah, with the long neck. The question is saying, if people have reached to the conclusion that this picture is a hoax. What is a hoax?
It's not true.
Not true. Yeah, fabricated thing. If people have reached this conclusion, he mentioned that people, after examining this photo, they have reached the conclusion that it is a hoax. It was made up. Okay? She's asking, if that was made up, how is it possible that the same picture is still used as a counter evidence to the theory of eels? The long sort of snake-like animal. Okay? I think that's quite a complicated question to put on the board. As a counter evidence. I'll stop there. I don't need more detail. Okay?
The same phenomenon happens in other places or
Okay. It's a good question if you adjust it a little bit, because if you said in any other place, he's not giving his presentation, on any other place, so he would of course be polite in saying, it would be interesting to know about it, but unfortunately, for example, I don't have any knowledge about that. He will get out of it politely, and not blaming you. This is again another technique when you are the presenter. If somebody asks you about something that he didn't talk about, that wasn't within the focus of your presentation, you have to be diplomatic. Not diplomatic?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Diploma.
No, not diploma.
No.
Diplomatic.
Means like, you don't
What?
communication with another country. No. It's
The problem is we go too far and then coming back is a long journey.
Diplomacy.
Say in Chinese, let other people help.
Don't say I don't know. Just try turn the question and say.
You know the word maneuver. You know the word maneuver?
Control.
Who said control?
Control.
Control.
Maneuver.
I see where you are getting from, but not exactly. The word maneuver, guys. No, it's a difficult one to spell. Please, somebody check behind me. It's one of the difficult ones. Maneuver.
Quite simple.
It's logic and diplomatic, which is easier to look than maneuver. It does make sense, saving energy. Maneuver.
Strongly control.
Anyone who's got maneuver, guys?
True.
True.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. After R, there is an E.
R.
After the R here.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the the British spelling. Yes, this is the American spelling.
Total?
Yes. But anyway, to maneuver means you know you are faced with an obstacle. Right, I was discussing the meeting.
Yeah, face the obstacle.
You know, when you face an obstacle and you sort of go around it, yeah, you maneuver, you find a way to get around it without actually hitting it, without, you know, having damage, basically, of that direct contact, yeah? Similar strategy that can be used is the one that you, for example, if you ask, how about any other place was the Loch Ness Monster witnessed, or, for example, in Wales or in Southampton? Well, obviously the speaker is not aware of that because that's not within the limitation of his presentation. So it's fine to say it's not within the focus of my presentation, but it will not sound professional. Yeah? And of course, there will be that moment of awkward, you know, feelings. A better way, of course, is to use sort of diplomatic answers, where you actually don't give an answer, but the person feels that you gave an answer. This is what diplomats do. They don't actually give an answer, but the person who asks the answer feels like he's got the answer, she's got the answer. Yeah? This is what is meant by a diplomatic answer. Yeah? So give a diplomatic answer means don't say anything, but let people feel that you have actually given them. So as I said, one possible answer for that might be, that's a very, you know, interesting question, and it will be actually, you know, a very good sort of look at this topic. I'll definitely be, you know, for example, interested if you have you heard. Sometimes they turn the question back to the person who asked it. It depends on the situation. Yeah, what you can get out of it.
Is there anybody who died or missed because of this creature in this way?
Okay. Was there any so accidents because of the monster? Okay. So basically, we've got any other. I'll take one or two more questions. Any other questions?
Why there are so many materials, such as films or pictures? Why there is no most clear one?
Why the pictures are always sort of
Blurry.
vague or unclear? Why all pictures are unclear? It does, you know, raise doubt. Why all of them have to be unclear? Not a single one with a clear, you know, footage. Last question, guys.
Do people still believe in this age?
Obviously,
Yeah.
he mentioned at the beginning. he mentioned that although some people still believe, do people still believe in the existence of the monster? Okay. Now, if you look at the essence of these questions, or questions that are asked in presentations in general, questions that people ask, they are normally categorized in one of three categories. Are we following? The types of questions asked in presentations are normally come under one of three categories. Okay? The first category, which I believe everyone of your questions fall under, which is a direct, straightforward question. Something that was not included in the presentation and you want to know about. Yeah? So, for example, no, actually, number one, was that mentioned?
Yes.
That was mentioned. So, if you want to go back to that, it's better not to ask it in this way. How would you make it better? If you are sure that the presenter gave that piece of information but you missed it, and you want to ask about it later on, how can you make this better?
Can you tell me again?
Would you please remind us again when was the first, photo taken for, or what you said exactly? Sorry, Alina.
Can you tell me again when was the
Yeah. So acknowledge. It would be nice from the side of the person who asked to acknowledge that that person, the presenter, actually mentioned that. Yeah. Otherwise, the presenter will feel really bad inside. And if he or she is allowed to take action, they will take action. They'll tell you, oh wow. Anyway, next, technology developed. Is there any evidence today about the existence of the monster? This is an example of a straightforward question. That was more of recalling questions. Okay? Can that be just a fabrication to bring more tourists in? That would be more of direct question. Last sighting was 20 years ago. Is there any more recent ones? Again, a straightforward one. If the photo is a hoax, how can it be used as a counter evidence? Again, a straightforward question. Was there any accidents because of the monster? Again. Why all pictures are unclear? Straightforward question. Do people still believe in the existence of the monster? Straightforward question. Now there are other types that are, frequent outside the pre-session course, when you actually start having professional people attending. People will ask two different types of questions, more than those types, or in addition to those types that we have mentioned. What do you think those types will be?
To measure our knowledge, question.
Well, every question goes for that, can be used to serve that purpose, to measure the knowledge. Yes, but how? How would you measure the knowledge?
Maybe about his or her opinion about...
Sometimes, yes. But many times they ask for more information about one point. So they will say, for example, you mentioned the point of the the yield, for example, yeah? But you did not tell us, for example, more about, you know, why, if they cannot, you know, show vertically why people have suggested illness. So further information on one point, more examples, you know, on one point. We'll see practical examples on what we watched very soon. So more details or examples on one point. And the third type will be repetition, basically. Say, please, if you can go back, for example, to slide 6 or 3. You mentioned here, you know, there was a point about the picture being a hoax. Sorry, I did not get why it was, you know, considered as a hoax. Would you please, you know, remind us that that was the question similar to that one that we came up with. So 1, which is direct, straightforward question. 2 is further details or examples. 3 is recalling or remembering, or reminding, sort of types of questions. And here we will see examples of these questions. Under number 2, please. Let one copy that. Any next ones? Thank you. Thank you. Let's go straight to number 2, please, guys. And let's have Diane reading first, please. Number 2.
Questions after all our presentations. There are 3 main types of questions that people tend to ask after our presentation. These are shown in the box below. And the style of questions, the straight questions.
The straight. Type 1 is the straight question. Type 2?
Type 2 is give me more questions.
Type 3?
Type 3 is I didn't understand, so tell me again question.
Yeah. Now, in 2.1, I know it's a very easy task to do, but what is more important than categorizing each question under which category is to study the language used for each type. Okay, go ahead and do 2.1, please. Put each question under which type. Yes, okay. A. Let's do the first example together. A. In your presentation, you said that there were other sightings of the monster on land apart from the spiders. Can you say a little more about those sightings? That's type 2, which is give me more questions. What is, as I said, what is more important than getting the right category is to look at the language actually used to ask that question. Okay? the back side of the picture. One minute. Okay. As I said, guys, I will be repeating this again and again. The idea is not to get the category right. The idea is to read and expand our style. Yeah, use more ways of asking questions. Okay. Let's see B and Kate, please.
Read it.
Yeah, B, asking about the category, please.
See, I have a question. Do you think the monster might be a very large author? I think it's one, the street.
Yes. What is author, guys?
Animals.
Okay, thank you very much. There's hundreds of thousands of animals. So, at least we can get from just 200,000 possibilities. But anyway, you know what is an otter, guys?
Yeah.
What is an otter?
Otter is an otter.
Otter is water.
Is
And water is water.
lives in water. And
Otter lives in water. That's a perfect word, line. This is otter, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beer. Wow.
But anyway. Okay. Number C or C, let's have Jack, please.
I wasn't sure what it meant when it implied that spiders saw the monster carrying something in his mouth. Can you go over that part again? I think it's tough to read.
Thank you. D. Raymond, please.
You said that the surgeon's photograph may actually have been a hoax. Can you go into a bit more detail on how exactly the hoax might have been carried out? I think it's 2.
Okay. Yeah, it's asking about more details, yes. And E, let's have Hanabi, please.
You mentioned that Lord Mora on the way West Coast is actually deeper than Loch Ness. Having similar animals inside is there too?
There you go, Jasmine. That's your question over there. All right. That is?
2, more detail?
One.
One that is
Well, again, there's no right or wrong answers, but it's more what it looks like more one. Again, as I said, the idea is not to get, a perfect answer here. It's more to see the language used. Please. Okay.
I still don't understand why the monster can be Can you explain that part again?
Okay. By the way, people who love dinosaurs, especially little kids, they know almost all the types of dinosaurs that you'll be shocked if you have a conversation with them. But anyway, that's a different topic. Jan, please.
If there is a Loch Ness monster or family of monsters, why don't we find any remains of them around the loch? I mean, if these animals had been in the loch since the 6th century, then there must be some bones or something in there.
Okay.
It's type 1.
Type 1. 5, please.
I'd like to ask something. When was the most recent sighting in the monster?
Of the monster.
Of the monster?
That's
One.
One. Okay. 3. It's more like 1, yeah. More like 1. Lena, please, next.
In your presentation, you stated you think a surgeon is the most likely candidate for the monster. I can see how this might account for sightings of humps and water disturbance. But how would it explain sightings of the head and neck? 1.
Okay. Yes. G or J, Michael, please.
You said that Tim Bensfeld's film was computer enhanced. Can you say a bit more about the procedures that are actually involved in that?
Involved in that. And that category? 2. Alright, thank you. Jason, please.
You didn't actually say anything about the search for lithium and what work has been done at locally using sonar.
So that's more of your question, of using new technology to actually, inspect and check the depth of the water to see if there's actually a monster or not. Yes. Thank you. Well, by the way, guys, it's, as you said, it's very massive, very big. And even till our days now, people don't know what is, very deep into the oceans. They don't really know what is deep in the oceans up to this day. So you can see why they don't actually know if there is monster or not. But anyway, it's not very serious thing. L, Andy, please.
What are the different types of fish in Loch Ness? 1.
Okay, what? Okay. As you can see in the table, in the box there are a few examples of language that can be used to ask questions of each type. Just read them silently, please. Which one do you think is better for the straight questions? Why?
Longer.
Because
Because it's long. Period.
you want to ask about specific things, so you have to say you mentioned that, but you...
Yeah. It's much nicer, to lead into your question rather than shocking the presenter with a question out of nowhere. Yeah. So in a sense, you're having an introduction to your question, which is obviously good practice. And we can see that in number 2 as well. In your presentation, you said that so-and-so, and then move from that to the question. Sometimes it's not possible to do that. This is when we have to jump into the question straight. Something that is good, guys, for the final assessment, please add slide numbers. That would help a lot for people to ask you questions. They can say, please go back to slide 4, for example. You have, for example, provided us with a definition of social media, but I'm not sure if this is your definition or you've got it from, certain source, but you have a preference to it, or something like that, So they will tell you to go to the exact slide rather than go back a little forward, 2 slides forward, which obviously will take a bit of time and confusion. So if you can add the slide numbers, that would be better. Okay, shall we see the questions before?
The surgeon's photograph was a hoax.
What? Okay, that was unexpected. Oh yes, there we go. Guys, this one, just listen and listen to the techniques, listen to the language, listen to enjoy, alright? And take notes. Which doesn't ruin the enjoyment. Okay?
I have a question. Do you think the month might be a large offer?
That's a very good question. It's certainly true that authors may have accounted for some of the sightings, particularly the ones on land. One night back in the 19th.
So the idea is to see the language,
I still don't understand why the monster can't be a plesiosaur. Can you explain that part again?
Sorry, I didn't explain that very well.
Have you seen that? You have to take it on yourself, no matter what, even if you want to kill that person, you have to say,
Sorry.
I possibly didn't do that well, let me go over it again.
Let me try again. The main difficulty with the plesiosaur theory is that it's hard to see how such a creature could have got into the lock in the first place.
So what do you mean when you said that unexplained sightings are simply cases of mistaken identities?
Let me try to put it another way. There are a number of factors at Loch Ness that make it particularly...
Okay. I'll play this number 2 again.
I still don't understand why the monster can't be a plesiosaur. Can you explain that part again?
Sorry, I didn't explain that very well. Let me try again. The main difficulty with the plesiosaur theory is that it's hard to see how such a creature...
Yeah? Hopefully this has given us an idea and widened our skills with handling questions. Because obviously in the final assessment, guys, there is a need for that. Please ask each other questions. Because one category, you have seen that possibly in your feedback sheets, one of the things that you will be assessed on is how you handle questions. If you haven't been asked questions, you might receive a mark that is lower than what you actually deserve. Yeah, so please help each other by actually asking questions. So if you ask your friend a question, that doesn't mean you have to put him or her in a difficult situation. You are actually helping him or her with their performance, with their assessment. Okay? And if you don't ask, this is when the markers will start asking. And possibly it's better for you to ask your friends questions than to get asked by the markers. Although they will still ask you questions, but it will help.
My friends will be there?
Yes, you'll be giving to the same group, yeah, in the same group. Sorry,
Same.
Same question? Same question? Everyone's asking the same question? Okay.
So because we are alone this time.
No, obviously not. You will be in the same style we did it for the group presentation and the individual presentation. You'll be standing here in front of you, not necessarily in this room. I don't know the room yet, but you'll be standing in the room and giving your classmate, the same class, 849, your presentation. The only thing that would be different is there will be 2 markers rather than 1, and I will be absent. Those are the 2 things. There's a person to replace me. By the way, I didn't ask you about yesterday, but I'll come to this after your question. Go ahead.
Presentation exam days, they separate 2 days.
Yes.
And this means if we have or not presentation, we will come 2 days.
Yes. And tomorrow.
Yes.
So you have to come, whether you are the first person to present or the last person to present, you have to be there for the 2 days. The class will be split in halves. 6 of you or 7 of you will give their presentations on the first day, but everyone will be there.
Yeah.
And in the second day, you will have the other, 6 or 7 people, but everyone will be there. Of course, some people will be just chilling out, having some popcorn, while others having popcorn being cooked into. But anyways, how was yesterday, guys?
Yeah, and one is the presentation exam. I didn't find it in the exam timetable. Maybe it's...
I'm not sure at the moment, but it will be the last week, so that's week 11. Week 11,
yeah.
Week 10 is when you have your discussion.
Yeah, but I find that our professional course are finished in the week 9.
I can't hear Michael, guys, sorry.
That I found my presentation course are finished in the week 9. That means in the last 3 weeks we didn't have any course. In week 10, week 11.
You don't have classes?
Yeah.
Or actually you have, I think, one in week 10. I can check that for you. You can, of course. Until I think okay. Week 10 is when you have, it's Thursday, week 10. That's Tuesday, sorry, let me get this right. That's discussion. Okay. It's week 10. Week 10 when we have the discussion. Okay. And that is Tuesday. Tuesday, the 6th of September. Things will be confirmed, don't worry.
Yeah, they give us the timetable in which building will be. But
but it hasn't.
Just at the presentation, they give us all the details in our even the
Yeah, but just listening, reading, writing like this.
Yeah.
This discussion, that's Tuesday, 6th of September, so I've got it right back. And in class, okay.
Which would be in the grade 2A.
Where is that?
It's in my table.
Anyway, you will get a lot of details before, all the details before you go do the exam, definitely. But week 10, we still have got, classes, I believe. Let's see.
But in week 9, on Friday, we start the final. On Friday,
Week 9, we have a normal week for listening and speaking. There's no changes with that. With week 9.
But Monday will be a holiday.
9.
Bank holiday.
It is bank holiday. It's bank holiday.
Yeah.
Bank holiday.
Week 10 we will not have obviously listening because it will be the week where we have our listening test. Thursday, the 8th of September. Yeah. So week 10, Michael. Week 10 is the week when our listening and speaking will be affected a little bit on the session because you'll be going to exams, but not week 9. Okay. Week 9 supposedly there is a bank holiday.
On Monday.
It must be on Monday week 9. Yeah. So the 29th of August, which is not next Monday, but the Monday after, it will be a holiday.
Yeah.
Week 9, which means you've got that at the right time to prepare for week 10, which is full of events. Yeah. Coming.
Also week 9, we have to submit the final test for week 9 and we have final reading exam.
That holiday just came in time, basically. Perfect timing. Any other questions, guys? No? No questions? Then tomorrow is the day, guys. At 11 o'clock. Alright, I'll see you tomorrow.